Hi there, everybody. Welcome to the second triumvirate. I'm Octavianus. I'm joined by British Mark Antony and Dino Lepidus, the one no one cares about.
Wow.
Is this nerd talk that I don't understand? Because normally I
I
understand all
have
nerd talk that goes on
I,
around here.
I
This is a history
I have
reference.
no idea what he's on
Oh, it's a
about.
history reference. I see. I see. So GM, you see, like some of us are, go out with friends, and some of us are getting laid. While
I'm not doing
you
any of those things.
buff yourself up with some history references, as Dino should. You're trying to prove a
And
point
see,
here.
this is why Brexit happened, by the way, folks.
No,
That's
Brexit happened
that's not the
because
case at all.
GM
No,
touches
we're
himself
not.
at
We're not
night.
here to talk politics, dude. We're not here to talk politics. Can we just not talk
Okay, so let's
politics
get
for
to
once?
it.
No,
For
no,
today's
no, no, no,
episode.
no.
Oh,
No, let's not get to it just yet, because we haven't all talked to each other for a while. How have you been? Have you been, Dino?
You know, I've been
For fuck's sake! Oh,
I've been working on some
fucking
stuff,
Christ!
and so
Let's get to it. Jesus Christ! Let's just fucking get to it. Oh my God!
I like how he just asks you how you're doing, then he just skips over me because he
I
knows he's
fucking
gonna get like the exact same answer.
fuck's sake! Right, let's just get to it then.
this is what you get for working with two Yanks.
Yes, I wouldn't describe you as Yanks. I use that in a derogatory term, like specifically when I'm having a go at
Wow.
GM. But other than that, you know.
Well, thank
So
you.
today we're going to be talking about Dead Space 2, I believe. Finally we get around to talking
Yeah,
about it.
basically, the reason the podcast has taken so long to come out because I kept talking about it is because Limo's life is like a nonstop British comedy of
Like
tragedies.
it's it's like a freight train going at full speed, but it's piloted by Benny Hill.
So it's like, just it's taken a while for us to get to this point. I don't know if Limo's actually beaten the game or not. I don't
Um,
think he
chapter
has.
just got on to chapter 14.
Okay, so that's fucking close enough. That is
Yeah,
definitely close enough.
I've been up since 7 this
How many
morning, and I've
how
been
many
playing it all
chapters are
day.
there? Aren't there only like 15? Yeah.
15.
15.
So you're so close,
Yeah,
but
I guess
you could
if you
not finish
guys
your
had given me
homework.
just one extra hour, I could have probably beaten it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we gave you like
See,
two
we gave him
months.
like 4 extra weeks,
I'm not,
and this is our reward. He still hasn't
No, no,
finished
look,
the
it's
fucking
at
game.
least
been
I
since
tried to play it.
November.
GM, always remember that GM has not played the Stanley Parable. He's never beaten the
See,
Stanley
I
before
like
for
how
that
he's
reason.
trying to
Okay?
deflect this, even though I've beaten the Stanley Parable like several times, and he's
Yeah,
never
but
beaten Dead Space
let's
2 once.
let's be honest, the Stanley Parable isn't even close to being as much of art as Dead Space 2
Oh
is.
yeah, no,
So
I agree. I'm like
really,
the
it
Stanley
doesn't.
Parable is like shit scrawled on a
Dead
wall
Space
compared
1
to Dead
being
Space
art
2.
still angers me.
Yeah.
The fact that you guys have included that in our canon makes me so angry. It makes me so Actually, here's a point. So
Just
Scrussel pointed this out on the first podcast. Like, what do you? So I spoke a little bit about what I consider art in the previous podcast, but I feel like you two should try and define what you would classify as artistic, endeavors, so that going forward, if we classify something as art, they know what we are talking about. Um, like for me personally,
Okay.
I feel like it has to be something that has a meaning that's deeper than surface level. Like if a game is just a good game, then it's fine. But if it has anything, that's fine. It doesn't detract from the fact that it's being a good game. I think Dead Space One is a good game, but I don't think it's art because there's nothing else other than we're just here to make a good game, which is fine. Because at the end of the day, that's what some people want. Nobody necessarily needs to have an artistic experience every time they play something. But for me personally, when I define something as art, I'd say it has to have something about it that leans itself into the artistic side of things as opposed to just being there for the sake of being a game. Heaven forbid people just want to make games.
how dare you?
I know, right? How about right? So you guys have now got to do that as well, so that we can. What we should do is we should put like a PSA at the front of every
Dino, do you
single
want to go
episode that we
first?
do.
Yeah, I guess I can. Um, so I guess my definition of being art would be to be the almost like the best example you can be of whatever you're trying to accomplish.
Hmm.
So yeah, something that has like a deeper meaning definitely would qualify as art to me. But if you are uh, just trying to be a good game, but you use your mechanics in a way that is, I guess, almost transformative. That is something more. So if you look at like Dark Souls, where the gameplay mechanics almost tie into the themes of the game, I feel like that is art. Or just, if you're very good at I guess presenting a theme, that could also be art to me. So I guess those are kind of like the things I would consider art.
I guess art for me is something that's just it's kind of a combination of what you two have said. I think art can have several different facets. I think if there's a deeper meaning, and it's not shit, BioShock Infinite. If there's a deeper meaning, then that can be helpful towards it. But I don't necessarily think it needs deeper meaning. Like sometimes you can just make a sculpture, for instance, and it can still be art, even if there's no implicit deeper meaning. It's all about that execution and how well you bring across what you're trying to do.
Yep.
And I think it's like if you have really amazing art design or music design or writing or storytelling, and you create this amazing, very well-made experience that might be lacking in some other areas, but brings across a lot of what it's trying to do incredibly well. I think you can consider something art. And I think that's part of what can make something art.
I'd agree with that.
It can be a bit nebulous too, I suppose.
Right. Well, I mean, okay, yeah, no, okay. Well, in which case then, why the fuck did you dedicate your time to saying that Dead Space One is art? Both of you, what the fuck? Like, going off your fucking definitions, it doesn't sound. No, I'm not going to. I'm not going to get pent up anymore. It happened. It's fine. I'm just gonna have to live with it. Like fucking Vietnam survivors have to live with everything that they went through. Whatever. Fine.
Don't worry. For this one, I have a feeling we're going to come to a bit more of a consensus than normal.
So I'd quite like to go first, to be fair. When it
comes
go
for
it. Yeah. Definitely the freshest.
Yeah, I'm the freshest, and overall, I feel like this game transcends the medium of gaming itself.
I agree. I agree.
Thank you. It has like so first off, I'm going to start with the story. I feel like the story is so well told, and the acting never once breaches the realms of unbelievability. The line delivery on every single person is absolutely fantastic. Specifically, the lead actor of Isaac Clarke. Like sometimes, like if they had gone one way or the other, he might have come across as like a conceited douchebag. But I think the way that they delivered the lines and directed the voice actor.
So is this where we want to? Is this where you want? Is this where we want to start talking? Do we want to start with the
story?
Not
just that as well, but I also I think story is probably a good place to start. I mean, to be fair, I just want to talk about the good things, and to be honest with you, I have basically no complaints about the game. I think the overall quality of like the structure of the plot as well. It doesn't there's not a single level in the game that feels like it's being dragged out for the sake of dragging out the length of the game. It feels like every single part of there is necessary. Like when you go back to Ishimura, it's such a thematic. It's such a positive use of the theme of going back to and battling your inner demons, because like in the other games, in poorer games, it might have been used as a simple crutch to reuse assets and maybe like just sort of haphazardly like slap an older level in the middle of your game and completely derail the experience for the user. But in this game, because of just how well done it is at Visceral, like the people at Visceral must be really proud of themselves, because the way they managed to implement that level into this, it not only does it have a thematic consequence, but it's just so much fun. Like it's such a fun part of the game, and I couldn't help but just love that entire experience. Also, Chapter 9 really stuck out at me. Like I don't know whose idea it was to put so many enemies into a tiny corridor at once, but I think like it's that again lends itself to the narrative of feeling just so overwhelmed by both emotion and by physicality. It just both melds together so well. I feel like by the time I've reached the climax, I don't know how it ends as of yet, but I'm pretty sure that by the time we reach the climax, that it's going to end up being such a fulfilling experience, story-wise, as well as design-wise.
Well, don't worry. Me and Dino
what the hell game were you playing?
On the climax, so you can get the full experience.
That's great. That's great, because I think overall, Overall, I think the game is so well done. I can't really think of anything to criticize too much. The combat is so fluid and so fast and visceral that I just can't.
Okay, let's drop the facade. We're 10 minutes in. Let's get to it, shall we?
I don't know what you're talking
Didn't
about.
you
I
like
actually
it?
love it. I think it's great. I think it's absolutely fantastic.
Well,
The
you know what's kind of ironic about the Ishimura level and
mm,
how bankrupt it is
You know,
in terms of creativity. I actually thought when I got onto the ship, I'm like, huh, why did the level design suddenly actually get good again? Which is kind of a terrible thing to say about your fucking game when going back to an environment that you blatantly reuse from the first game is like, oh, right. These games used to be good.
now,
Okay.
I'll say that
All
I
right.
actually
In
enjoyed
seriousness,
returning to
let's-
Ishimura as much of a giant pile of crap as it was. I was just like, this is kind of cool. Kind of back to the
Yeah,
beginning.
because it actually feels like it's designed for, a fucking horror game.
That's exactly what
I
it
didn't even. I
was.
was about to say that. I didn't even mention like the actual overall atmosphere of Dead Space 2 is so fantastic. I fucking adored it. I just thought it was great. Like I know that sometimes throwing too many enemies at you at once might feel a little bit like it's breaking the tension, but I thought like the use of cheap jump scares was really good in this game. Like in most games, cheap jump scares aren't that good at all, but in this game they somehow managed to make it
Dude,
work.
Limo,
Well, okay,
that
you
is
know
one
what?
thing I noted
think,
about this game. Like I wrote that down. I was like, this game is basically Gears of War with jump scares and without
Yeah,
the
it's-
cover-based shooting.
If you're saying that now, believe me, I've played all 3 of these. Dead Space 3 is literally Gears of War,
That's funny.
like, but worse because it doesn't control nearly as well. Okay, being serious, being serious. Unless Limo wants to keep going, I mean, if he wants, we can just declare Dead Space 2 art right now and just.
I mean,
end
it's a
the
foregone
podcast, but-
conclusion.
I don't think you can. I don't think you can classify this as anything. Very few games are, or
Oh, I
very
disagree.
few things of anything are so well done. I also really like the really nuanced and totally not on the nose way that they portray insanity in this game.
Yeah, it's not at all token. It's not at all terrible and stupid.
And also the fact, like at the end of the day, that Isaac somehow, like I don't quite understand. I don't think I'm smart enough to understand it, but I think somehow Isaac's psyche somehow manages to tell him ways in which to go throughout the course of the finale. And I'm not too sure
Yeah.
how that works, but I'm pretty sure that the writer over at the developer's place knows a lot more about it than me, so I just don't think I quite grasped it, which is a shame. You know, I need to try and get smarter and maybe play it again, and then that way I'll be able to understand how it works.
Okay. Yeah, you should play it every day.
Yeah, you should probably play this game for the rest of your life.
I feel like after playing this, I
Okay.
don't think I can go back and play anything
All
else.
right,
You know,
all right.
um,
Let's
I just don't think it can happen.
You know what? Let's start with the story and the characters, shall we? I think that's a good place to start.
yeah.
Okay,
definitely.
so let me set it up, because I'm waiting for Limo to just explode out his bile everywhere. I know it's gonna happen. He keeps trying to. He keeps going with the sarcastic facade, but he didn't like it much. If you couldn't tell already. Sure.
Can I ask you guys a question? Is it plagiarism if you plagiarize yourself?
Yes.
Because this game has a big old case of that.
So the story. Now, as some of you may recall, in the first game, our good friend Isaac had a bit of a misfortune occur to him.
Everyone died.
Everybody except him dies, and then a spoopy ghost comes out of nowhere, grabs him, and shakes him, and is like, "Oh no, I'm a ghost," and that's it. That's how it ends. Because, I mean, okay, despite I like Dead Space a lot, but that bit is really stupid. But regardless, so as it turns out, Isaac gets found by some government people, and see. We're gonna get into the problems with the story immediately, but they grab him and they're like, "Hey, you've been exposed to the marker. That means you know how to make markers, right?" And it's like, okay,
Obviously.
I guess. They don't explicitly say that right at the beginning, but it's pretty obvious that they're experimenting on these crazy people to figure out what it's doing. It doesn't seem to be to any purpose. I literally have played through this game 3 times throughout its existence. Yeah,
You're just not smart enough to
true.
understand it, dude. Like, I mean, I get it. Yeah, I know. I get that it might seem like they're just doing the whole Wayland Yutani thing for some reason, trying to utilize all like the Doom guys who they just try to utilize a really powerful source of energy.
Well, okay,
For
to be
literally
fair,
no
in Doom, to be fair, in Doom, they are literally harnessing hell energy and using it to power Earth. In this one, I still don't know what the fuck they were gonna do with it. It's like, does it produce energy? Is it like some sort of giant battery?
I imagine it's probably for military purposes.
Well, yeah, because when I think military purposes, I think the best strategy to use is to use a horrible body horror rock that turns people into monsters and makes them kill everything that they get into contact with. Because I mean, why wouldn't you just use like sarin gas or fucking
GM,
plague?
this is why you're not a 5-star general.
Oh,
This is why you're just a corporal.
You're right. This is why I'll never get promoted.
This is why you'll never be able to write for Visceral Games. Well, I mean, nobody will be able to write for Visceral Games. So, this is
Rest
why
in peace.
But yeah, okay. So to get into it, so basically Isaac's been retrieved and he's in an insane asylum. And see, the problem here is that I actually think the game starts off decently well at trying to kind of be horror. It falls on its face pretty quickly after this, but
Yeah.
so basically you're getting interrogated and he's having hallucinations, and it's not very well done at all in my opinion. But whatever, that's the general gist. And also Isaac talks now, which when I first played this game and when I first started playing this game, I'm like, great, that'll be useful for characterization. And after beating it both times, I'm like, no, this was a horrible mistake. So he basically gets awakened by some guy who gets face
some guy
fucked
who,
by
might I add, is also a main character in one of the spin-off games.
Yeah, because that's important because he gets killed in this one immediately.
Because he gets killed immediately, which is a damn shame. Because like even that fleeting thing, is still just so perfectly executed. Like
Yeah.
he only has a couple of lines, but he delivers them so well, and the writing for them is so strong. He sounds so believable and not at all cartoonish. I was genuinely surprised at how invested I was in that character, and I felt like it really tugged at my heartstrings when he died. It kind of hurt a little bit that he died.
Yeah, so basically
Which
he
is a
gets
shame.
he gets
Like,
stabbed in the
support him.
face by one of those things that makes dead bodies into necromorphs, which apparently it can also do to normal people. And his face explodes and opens up and muscles and shit. And Isaac basically headbutts him and runs off. And so basically the story starts off trying to kind of be ostensibly a little bit more horrifying. It's Isaac trying to make his way through the Sprawl, which is the new location he's on. It's a space station in space on top of a giant rock, yada yada, outside of Saturn. And there is an interesting conceit here that's not executed well, which is seeing a necromorph infestation start as opposed to coming upon one after it's already happened, as in Dead Space 1. But the problem is there's immediately necromorphs everywhere, so there's no real build up to it, and it's basically Dead Space 1 again in terms of setup. So they waste that. But yeah, in the initial part, you have no weapons and stuff, and you have to run away, and it's like, it is actually somewhat tense, which is about one of the last times that it manages to have some tension, which is regrettable.
I mean, I don't know. I kind of found it to be tension filled all the way through. It just nailed it. It really walks that fine line between being too action heavy and too horror heavy. It just doesn't seem to stray too far into either side. In fact, if anything, it does it better than Resident Evil 4. So I do think this game's probably better than Resident Evil 4 in that regard. When it comes to,
All right, we get it. We get it. You don't like it.
I feel like this is our penance for making Dead Space 1 art.
Okay. But basically, the story boils down to get to this person. No, get to this person. No, get to this person. No, get to this giant space rock so we can fucking blow it up. It's like, by the end of the game, the story just feels like it's completely lost any thread, and you're just moving along a line to try and get to the end of it. It's full of action cliches. It's full of stupid one-liners from Isaac. It feels literally like a shitty action movie's
Did you
plot.
not like the what? Did you not like the way he just sort of goes
Yeah.
"fuck you" at like random? Like he does it occasionally, or like I always felt like it just sort of added to this persona of him being a badass. He was fantastic. I thought the characterization of Isaac was really well done. So much so that I feel like I don't understand why people don't rank him up there with like some of the best video game characters, because he's just so well realized. I feel more involved with him, his past, and everything that goes on with his life more than I do with Joel from The Last of Us. I just think he's that well done, like so much so that it's just
So yeah, the thing is with him, he's also a complete asshole who lets people get murdered for no reason.
Mm-hmm.
And he'll just say, "Oh shit," when someone's getting stabbed to death, and instead of even trying to help them, he just does nothing. A disregard for human life makes you
You
a
don't
badass.
understand. That's what makes him
he's also
a badass.
He's such a yeah.
That's why he's so
just such
great.
he's such a broken individual that you just have to you can't help but feel sympathy for him when like someone else is getting stabbed. In
Mhm.
front of him.
Oh, so is that why he had why he
he's-
had damage tattooed
No,
on his
no.
He's
forehead?
really, yeah, he's really like Sasuke.
Like how
if you think about it.
He's far better written than Jared Leto.
well, okay.
He's he's just such a sympathetic soul. I can't help but feel for him in every situation that he's in, and therefore I latch my own psyche onto his, and I feel his pain every time he goes through one encounter to the next. And I mean, to be fair, would you not react the same way that he does when he sees people getting killed in front of him? Like, you know, with stony silence.
Does
'Cause at the
nothing.
end
He
of the
doesn't
day,
even lift a finger to
like,
help them.
yeah, you know, like you'd react with stony silence. It's how you would react. It's kind of naturalistic in that sense.
I find it hilarious that Isaac is far more relatable in the first game when he doesn't even fucking talk.
I mean, you
Than
could
this
argue
one.
that, yes, you could maybe argue that, but no, I do think overall, I do think, quite honestly, that Ellie is quite well done. I feel like I'd argue she's more of a sympathetic character than Isaac is,
See,
but that's only due to the fact that you're looking at her as an outsider's perspective. So you don't really. She's just been there. She's just one of the schlubs who's come to clean up. As she didn't ask for any of this. You're the guy who made the marker. You feel a sense of responsibility to her due to the fact that you couldn't save your wife, Nicole, even though there wasn't necessarily anything you could do about it. But that's what people with guilt complexes have. They have that level of nuance about them that just kind of makes them just question every
Oh
single
my
thing that they've done.
all right, we get it. We get it. Enough of this
To
fucking
be fair,
charade.
he's
Let's
English,
move
so
on.
sarcasm
But yeah,
is just part of his wheelhouse.
it's like breathing. It's
Yeah,
it's like
exactly.
poetry. So basically, the story is, it feels so aimless and meandering, and it ends with Isaac trusting the evil space rock, and basically he kills the director who didn't really do anything that wrong, in my opinion, and who's willing to stay and go down with the ship, so to speak. He kills the director who didn't really do that much wrong after he tries to kill him with a spear gun. Because, you know, there's nothing more dramatic and horrifying in a horror game than being shot through the hand with a spear, pulling it out, and then grabbing a man who's had half of his body burned off and shooting him through the throat with a spear for no real reason other than being a dick.
Oh my God, is that how it ends? Spoilers, GM.
Yeah,
Spoilers.
this is how it ends. And then he has a fight inside, and Limo, you're gonna love this. And then he has a fight inside of his own brain with the
Oh my
marker,
God.
the ghost of Nicole, and she summons a bunch of those little baby necromorphs to fight.
Yeah.
Not baby,
Yeah.
like the toddler ones. She summons a bunch of them, and if she touches you, you die. And so basically, you fight her in your brain. And you shoot at this giant marker thing that just appears for no real reason in your brain. And then once you do that, the marker blows up and is destroyed. And Isaac manages to fly off because Ellie comes back to save him, and that's the end.
See, now, so
Can I
Yeah.
say that boss battle, so disappointing. You like shoot her 4 times and then she dies.
Yeah, if you have a seeker rifle, which is the most powerful weapon in the game,
Because why
you
wouldn't
shoot her
you?
4 times and she's fucking
So
dead.
so from that, what I gather, it seems like what they were going for was like a thematic contrast between her obviously being dead and him not being able to do anything about it, but him letting go and accepting that fact, and therefore being able to put down the thing that's masquerading as his former lover. And the fact that they never had kids and anything like that, no wonder she summons the child necromorphs. It's almost like it's a replication of the guilt he suffered from never being able to have a family with his loved one.
So the sad thing is that first part you were saying. I think that's actually legitimately what they were going for. Because there is a scene at the end where he's like, if I let go of the marker or whatever, I forget exactly what he says. It's like, I'll let go of you too, Nicole.
Oh yeah.
And it's fucking terrible. But yeah, the story is dreadful. Honestly, I mean, there's nothing compelling to it. It's not like a desperate story of survival like the first one, where basically it's the ship is really, really fucked, and we need to get the fuck off of this ship before the things kill us. It's go see this person. Oh, go see that person. And that's it. And then go destroy the marker. Which, oh, by the way, our marker
MMO
is even
quests.
better than the previous games because it's like the size of a skyscraper, and it looks so bad. Okay, so the original marker is one of the most visually iconic parts of the entire series, and it's like two people stacked on top of each other high, but it's so visually well presented, and when the sun's presented behind it and all this other shit, it really looks good. This one, it's just inside of a giant bay, and it's green and like the color of snot, and there's nothing to it. It's so poorly. It literally feels like, this Death Star blows up a planet. Well, in my movie, I have a Death Star that's even bigger, and it destroys 3 planets. Isn't that fucking awesome? It's like, no, you're missing the entire fucking point. But it's a cliched action movie, essentially, and it's so
It's a
boring.
cliche action
It's
movie
so
masquerading
dull.
as a horror story. Which it's just
Yeah, and I think this is really where you can kind of start seeing EA creep into it. Because in the first game, you can kind of get the feeling that EA wasn't messing with them as much, or at all, really. There was DLC shenanigans, but that was like back in the innocent times, when that was the worst they'd get.
Before they became the biggest shithill ever.
But in this one, it's just such a poorly constructed and poorly done story. It's really fucking boring to get through. And also, you can kind of feel that by the end they were just rushing things, because it feels like a slog, but it also feels like a rush slog. Because it's just like you go through a room, there's a bunch of necromorphs that are really strong, try and survive, yada yada. It's over and over again until you get to the final run, and you're just sprinting through it because you're like, I want this to fucking be over.
We shifted onto gameplay now.
Yeah.
We shifted onto game design. Okay, great, because I've got a few things to say about this. I think the
Hey.
best thing that it does is it just bees itself. It makes some decisions that in other games it just wouldn't be. Right, you know what? Fuck it. This game fucking sucks.
There we go.
I absolutely.
Uh-huh.
I can't. I could do it for the story. I could keep it up for the story because the story, while bad, isn't offensive. There are some decisions they make in this fucking game in terms of level design, in terms of game design, in terms of weapon design, like the way the weapons feel. So I have had sections of this game where I aim at an enemy, I pull the trigger, the fucking laser comes out. So specifically when it comes to the line gun, it's the or if it's the or even just the standard, just the standard pistol, whatever the fuck it's got. I don't give a shit. Fucking it. So I shoot at them widthways, and it goes through their tentacles, but does no damage. It does nothing. Not a blood spatter. Nothing. Not an effect or anything like that. They keep charging at me, which is another thing I despise. The fact that they can stun you, but you, if you shoot them sometimes they'll be. It's like an RNG roll. If you shoot them, occasionally they'll get stunned. If you shoot them again afterwards, they won't be stunned, and they just run through your fucking bullets like it's nothing, which makes literally no sense to me. Also, on top of that, if they hit you, sometimes they can hit the air next to you and latch onto you. Sometimes you'll be running away, and it will be behind you, because because the hitbox is still there around in that area, it hits you and causes damage to you. Get the fuck out of here, Visceral, that bollocks. That is fucking dog shit. Don't you do that to me. Especially when I'm in a corridor that's about as fucking wide as I can be, and I'm shooting at enemies coming down at every single which way, which will spawn randomly, by the way. They don't always spawn in the same place when you're in corridors like that. If you're in that corridor, you've got all these things coming at you, you're throwing them at me like it's an action game, but I have enough ammo as if it was a fucking survival horror game. Make up your mind on which one you want to do. And speaking of corridors as well, sometimes when you're in a corridor, I will randomly clip onto fucking objects that are just strewn around. I had a chapter in chapter 10. There was a bit where I was walking down a fucking corridor and this ladder fell down in front of me, and I tried to use kinesis to get it out of the way. It wouldn't fucking move. I couldn't do anything. I had to reload the fucking chapter. What the fuck were you thinking? Why make objects like that in a fucking corridor when you've got enemies chasing you? It makes no literal sense. I don't understand it. I don't fucking get it. Just not on top of that as well, it will checkpoint you at random times. I spoke to GM earlier, and it fucking checkpointed me with an explosive enemy behind me. So every time I loaded in, it would explode as soon as I load in, causing me damage and putting me on red. The problem was the save point was fucking 5 miles back, so I had to go hiking. Go all the way fucking back at the manual save point and save scum my way through the fucking level. This fucking game has so many decisions in it that make me just literally boggles my fucking mind. I don't get it. Also, those fucking raptor things, the stalkers, they can get the fuck out of here. Those things are the worst fucking enemies I have fought in any game ever. They are just trash. They are gutter trash. They don't make fucking sense. They're a cool idea, but the problem is that the fucking game, like, they will charge out of nowhere, and there are some areas where you walk in, and normally, in most games, they will kind of set the atmosphere, they'll set the mood, you're like, oh shit, there's an enemy that's stalking me. In this one, you can walk into the centre of the room, and then the engine in the game says, right, it's time for these enemies to spawn now. So they just spawn them, and they just put them in the fucking room, and it's like, what the fuck are you doing? That doesn't make sense. You're meant to, like, spawn the enemies as I'm loading into the room. Don't put me in the centre of the room and have them spawn around me.
Oh yeah,
that's
in the Church of Unitology, right?
Not just not just that. There's also in chapter 10 as well, or is it chapter 9, which is still my least favourite level in the game, might I add. Chapter 9, you come out of the area with whatever, the crazy dude and Emily, and you come out of the area, and then 6 enemies will spawn as you're walking along this walkway. The problem is you can't then get back into the room, so you've got either the lift, at which point those enemies will go up, and the other enemies that spawn above you will also spawn, so that way you've got 8 enemies fucking running at you. But the actual walkway you're on is only wide enough for one person at a time. So you're having all these enemies charge at you, but you don't have enough ammo to fight them because you've just come out of a boss fight. So, and it hasn't given you a store yet, which I'll get onto, because the fucking placement of the stores, the benches and everything don't make fucking logical sense in this game. They don't make any sense at all. Either put them in a safe room or strew them all about together. Don't dot a save point next to a bench and have the store 5 miles into the fucking map. That doesn't make any logical sense whatsoever. It like, you go across that walkway, you go up the lift, you spawn a bunch of baby enemies that come at you, the explosive ones, as well as 2 walkers. The 2 walkers come at you, you can deal with them, that's fine. The babies as well, that's fine. But now you've wasted ammo. Unless, of course, you get lucky and you can aim between the joints between the head and the body of the baby, and then use the baby's body to explode the other babies as they come at you. Fine. Whatever. But given the fact that this game uses an RNG-based system for the items that you can get out of the boxes that you can break, it means that either, if you've lost health, you've now got to go to the next point with barely any health items and basically on borderline, like, death, or you have no ammo and no way of getting ammo until you get into the level far enough to actually get the ammo packs, to buy them to find them randomly, or to get them from the store. Whatever, that's fine. But then the next area is the area with the you have to like pull the power out. It's got like an electrical circuit thing, and this is where I got stuck. This is where the ladder fell out in front of me, the enemy spawned behind me that was explosive, and blew me apart almost every single time that I loaded in. The only time it didn't was when the ladder fell in front of her and blocked her path. That's the only way that I got lucky and shot her to death. And it's just like, it doesn't... this game, honestly, that level broke me. That level was the moment that actually made me realise that the further into the game I got, the more enemies they threw at me, but the less ammo they gave me, which normally is fine.
Well, see, Limo, it gets even worse in the end walk up. It gets 10 times worse because they'll lock you into tiny rooms with a bunch of enemies, and they'll barely give you any ammo.
Oh my god. the first time and the only time they did it, and I think they realized it was a bad decision when they spawned an enemy in the lift in the elevator. Um, it only happens once in the entire game, but once when it happens, it literally falls in front of you, but you don't have enough room to like aim properly, so you just have to fucking blast it and hope that it blasts a limb off or something. Because the actual space you have in that tiny little, just a normal elevator. It's not a big wide one. It's one of the little ones, and they spawn in it once, and it happens in like chapter 5 or 6. It doesn't happen again for the entire game. It doesn't happen again, and I think it's because they realised, holy shit, that's an awful decision because that just doesn't work.
Well, let me just say a little bit on this. So, just for anyone who doesn't know, somehow, Dead Space 2 is a third-person shooter, over the shoulder, slower because it's a horror. Well,
Horror game.
its predecessor was a horror game, and it keeps some aspects of that. What's interesting about Dead Space 2 is that I think it controls smoother and better than Dead Space 1.
Oh,
But
it absolutely does.
weirdly enough, I think that actually works to its detriment because now that they think you can move better and faster, they also throw in enemies that are far faster and more numerous. But you're still a clunky character in some ways, so it makes dealing with some of these enemies really annoying and tiresome. And they've upped the pace of combat to some degree because they throw so many enemies at you. But it doesn't feel tense. It's just annoying. I mean, like as Limo, as his glorious
Which, just
16-minute
applause for
rant.
that.
Not 60. It's not really 16 minutes.
Just lovely.
But yeah, as his rant may have given away, the problem is that they start throwing so many enemies at you. Whereas in Dead Space, they tended to throw less enemies at you, except in certain circumstances. But what they do is try to incentivize you to run or get away from the enemies, or the pace of combat was slower to account for your character being slower and clunkier. Whereas in this one, they kind of start cribbing action game elements. And again, that doesn't work to the game's favor for a decent amount of it because you can counter some of that, but at the same time, some of it's like unavoidable, especially in the end. They start throwing really tough enemies at you that take a lot of hits to take down, but they still move relatively fast and there's still a decent amount of them, so you'll get like fucking hit from all sides.
So what I'll say is that where Dead Space 1 kind of played on that line between action and horror, and ultimately I think it came out on the positive side of it, Dead Space 2 sits in this awkward, terrible, middling space between action and horror game, and it just does not know what it wants to be, and it ends up being so terrible. The gameplay in this game is just, in the beginning I was like, oh, this is actually an improvement, but by the end it was such a terrible drog in all the design elements that the flaws just popped out.
I think that's the thing about the game. The beginning is deceptively good. Despite some of the story issues, I think there is actually some good design, some clever design earlier on in the game. But I'd say at about the midpoint, when you first meet, I think actually when you meet Ellie too, that's when the game starts getting worse and worse.
Well, to give you an idea, I think like it took you about 9 hours. It took me about 9-10 hours to beat this game, right? I would say the first half of the game took me about 4 hours to complete. And then like the last half took like 6 hours. It was ridiculous. And it was like, yeah, it was so slow. Like by like the ninth or the 10th chapter, it's just like you're crawling through these levels because there are so many enemies on your screen that like you could watch the FPS counter just tank. On my machine that has an 8 gigabyte graphics card and was made like 10 years after this game.
10 years after this game, so it's a computer from the future?
It is. Wait, when was Dead Space 2 made?
2012, I think.
Oh, I thought it was like, okay, never mind. I was wrong.
No, you know what? It was 2008, was it? No.
That's what I thought.
That's Dead Space, I think. It was 2011, I'm pretty sure.
Okay, yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah, because I think Dead Space 3 came out in
7 years.
2015 or 16. No.
Anyways, it was
14 or 13, that was it. I don't know.
And it kills everything. Just, I can't. I'm so glad I don't have to play that game anymore.
Yeah,
I
it's
honestly, if it wasn't for this podcast, I wouldn't have finished it.
yeah. I mean, okay, so I actually go back to replay Dead Space every once in a while because I like it. You know, it's got some good
Understandable.
design and some good
Hmm.
ideas, and it's I looked at Dead Space 2, and I hadn't replayed it for years, and I'm like, huh, why don't I go replay Dead Space 2 more often? And then I started playing it, and I realized why. And the problem is that it just again the gameplay feels better, and at first you think it's an improvement, but then you start getting into problems. Now, I actually like the Raptors conceptually, like Limo said he does too,
They
conceptually.
overuse them though.
Oh, for sure. And they start using them in terrible environments that don't work for
Hmm.
them, where there's like one pillar in the middle of the room that they're hiding behind. It's like, where am
Hmm.
I? But in the cargo area actually is where I think it's great because it forces you not when it like spawns it when you're in the middle of the room. When you first go into it, one runs by you and you're like, okay, something's up, something's going on. And I like the way they click and the way they communicate with each other. I like the way you can kind of see them peeking behind corners. I like the way that they
Hmm.
surround you. It's really actually tense. But the problem is some of your weapons aren't quick enough to deal with them, and the
Yep.
ammo is random. So sometimes you'll get
Yep.
into an encounter with them, and it'll just fuck you
Yep.
over. And I like them conceptually, and one or two of the times they appear, they work. Because again, it's tense. You
Yep.
can't just run through it. You have to be slow and methodical, like a fucking horror game. And I like that. And then they just start overusing them, and they're just like, come on. They'll be in a room and there's one pillar and you can hear one of them and you're like, gee, I wonder where it's hiding. Oh, look, it just looked at me. Where is it? Where is it going to come from? And it's just an annoyance. And that's the thing with this one. As much as I like Dead Space, the end of it is kind of a slog because they make a lot of the mistakes that this one makes. Like the end section where you have to escort the marker is really tiresome because there's no meat to it. You're just literally fighting
Hmm.
off tons of enemies, and that's basically Dead Space 2, except all the time after a certain point. And yeah, the slightly better gameplay, and the zero G. I'll give the zero G this. The zero G is actually fun in this one. I like the way Isaac flies around, and it's just kind of more appealing. Until they put you in like a death trap where it being like a micrometer off of the hitbox of one of them kills you instantly, and the checkpointing's horrible. So they
Hmm.
ruin that too. It's just
I think the
yeah,
zero G is it definitely is more fun, but I think it's way less interesting than the first one. The first one, I feel like there's so much that you can do by limiting like your by not allowing you to fly. It kind of like it puts you in a more horror situation because you don't have that freedom of movement. If that makes sense.
yeah, that is true. That no, I do understand that. It's like as much as I like the actually, I've been looking at trailers for Anthem here or there,
Hmm.
and the flying looks hilariously similar to Dead Space, which yeah, no, I do understand that because like while the flying is, it's one of those weird contrasts where it's like while the flying is more fun and enjoyable, it's also a lot less scary because you have complete control. And the way they try to stymie you is to just like make these insta kill traps or enemies that fire homing missiles at you. Whereas in Dead Space, you have to leap around and you have to get away from a bunch of necromorphs.
Yeah.
It's yeah. One thing I'll say in this game to this game is that it doesn't have as many physics puzzles, which is nice, but it does have some of them, and they're
Yes.
not as painful as in Dead
Oh yeah.
Space. Which I mean, I'll give it that, but at the same time, that also kind of gives it less meat to some degree. So it's mostly just combat, which
There's not as much I guess variety because the pacing in Dead Space kind of works with the puzzles even though some of them are absolute garbage because you
yeah,
have like all the shooting and then you have like your breaks and then you have like the kind of like the puzzles and it kind of changes it up a bit. It's kind of like if you play like Halo, right? And you
yeah,
go into Halo and you're shooting all the, your aliens and whatever, but then you get to like those warthog driving sections and
yeah,
so that kind of gives you a little change of pace to keep the game fresh, I guess.
yeah.
And so Dead Space 2 doesn't really have a whole lot of that.
And I
And
think that's part of
given
the reason why it's such a slog. Because you go into a room and you're like just dreading having to fight more enemies because it's so boring.
Well, it's also very lazy in its design. Like,
Yeah.
it's like, well, we could come up with good combinations of enemies and interesting room scenarios, or we can just throw 50 necromorphs at you at the same time, and
It
shoot 'em all.
combines the two issues. It combines both the hit marking issues and the hitbox issues and the
Oh
issues
yeah.
of like overpopulating the combat space. It
Mm-hmm.
goes from basically um, having no enemies. Like the problem is, it doesn't seem to understand that the entire point. It
No.
doesn't pace itself like a horror game, and it doesn't pace itself like an action game, and therefore it has this sort of schizophrenic nature. Not schizophrenic. That downplays the nature of that mental health issue. What fucking phrase that I could? Okay, so it's kind of it goes between the two so often. It's like it has a crisis of identity. It doesn't know whether or
Yeah,
not it wants to be one thing or another, and it consistently
And see, the thing is,
that's what I.
that's in the first game
yeah.
too, but the first game felt like it was trying to be a horror game, so it
Mm-hmm.
worked better.
It lands in, like I said, it lands on the right side of that. Whereas Dead Space 2 ends up being in this terrible middle
Mm.
ground that just is
And that's the thing. Dead
confused,
Space 2 is trying to be an action game, but
but it's
whereas
also
with
not.
the yeah, it's so not. Isaac doesn't control
You know
well
what?
enough.
You know what it almost feels like? It feels like Visceral was like, we want to make a horror game, and then EA is like, yeah, but we want you to make an action game, and so they had to like fight over every single decision, and it ended up
Hey,
being
look, I don't know.
horrible.
I don't know why you'd assume EA messed with this game
You're
at
right.
all. By the way,
That's wrong.
I
of
don't
me.
know about you guys, but I'm feeling like a little Dead Space 2 multiplayer right now. Are you up for that? Let's play some Dead Space 2 multiplayer.
You know, we should
me
have
just get-
honestly though. Like, we should.
I played that when I first got it. Let me just give you a short summary.
Okay.
It's shit and it's not worth playing. Moving on. I was going to get onto that when I was talking about the story, where budgetary stuff starts creeping in. I definitely think like the time they had to take to develop a multiplayer mode probably
Oh,
ate into the
absolutely.
budget and
Totally.
definitely hurt the game overall.
Same thing goes for that. Same thing happened with Spec Ops: The Line.
Oh yeah.
No,
Yeah.
yeah, which is weird because like I've played Spec Ops: The Line's multiplayer. Well, I mean, I played the lobby because nobody plays it because that's not where the fucking experience is. That's not where
Well,
the
I
good part
mean,
of the game
why
is.
why wouldn't you have multiplayer for a deep psychological horror
Isn't
game
no, I haven't
about
played
Can I
Spec
just
Ops:
say,
The Line.
you know what's right? Can I just say, Dino,
Yeah.
Spec Ops: The Line is a better horror game than Dead Space 2.
Interesting.
You should
Interesting.
actually
It
you
is.
should play it so we can talk about it on this one.
But anyways, what I was gonna
yeah.
say is I haven't played it, but doesn't the multiplayer in that game completely contradict the message that game is trying to set forth?
Yes,
Yes.
it entirely
Yes.
contradicts the entire message of the
They
game.
they worked on the multiplayer for Spec Ops: The Line in a year. They had 1 year to make everything.
One of
in the
one of the lead
multiplayer.
developers called it a cancerous tumor.
Yeah, like they
But yeah,
they hated it, but 2K wanted it.
That's how
So
I would
it's,
describe EA.
you know,
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly.
yeah,
And that's,
yeah.
I mean, it's a
how I
horror
describe
game.
every single fucking thing in this game because there are very few enemies in this game that I like, and the ones that I like are already in
Yep.
the first game.
Yeah, well, see, the thing is, I do like some of the enemy design, but a lot of, well, I mean, just some of it's just kind of lazy. Like I felt like they could have done more with some of the enemy designs. I like some of
They
them.
don't seem to have a grasp on, and this is one of my favorite things about certain horror games, specifically body horror games. Body horror games, when the monster erupts from the body, it's like you can understand what the monster is. But there are some enemies in this game where I'm like, what the fuck was that before it became a necromorph? Like the little the
Yep.
cyst things
Yeah.
on the floor that spit out bombs. I'm like,
Oh, yeah.
what the fuck were you? Like, necromorphs are meant to be like humans that have been turned into these things, right? Do necromorphs lay eggs? I don't know.
No, I think what the idea would be is that if you remember in the first game, there were those giant
Yeah.
tentacles. And so I think what the idea is the flesh turns into this carpet of flesh, which gives rise to other things. It doesn't make any fucking... I'm okay with it when it's covering shit, because it's changing the environment and, like, turning into some greater form. But you never quite see what that is. You see... Well, I mean, you do. You see the, like, Leviathan and stuff like that. And that's kind of why I said in Dead Space I'd like a little better understanding of what it's trying to build towards. But yeah, no, in this game there's stuff like that where it's like, what's the point of this? The tentacles I understand, they're burrowing holes to the ship and grabbing people to convert into more
That's
necromorph
actually one of the
goo,
things,
but
like, I don't understand. When I look at necromorphs, I'm like, I understand your purpose, I understand what you are, but those spawn things, I don't understand
yeah.
their fucking purpose. Like, how would that be useful in spreading the plague of the necromorphs? How would the marker use that? I don't fucking understand it, because they sit stationary. I understand maybe if it was a defense mechanism, but the marker itself is the defense
Well, I mean,
mechanism.
the wall guys are far better as a defense mechanism. Like they generally guard off areas, and they're horrifying. Their intestines turn into tentacles. It's disgusting and
They also,
horrifying.
uh, if you're below, I think it's 80% health, their melee attack is a one-hit kill on normal difficulty, which I was not pleased with, because I found that out the hard way. And I think overall the design, and as well the first big
Oh
monster
yeah,
you come across.
I know. No, it's the one that smashes the ship, and it's made of like different people and ribs and
Yeah,
stuff.
I couldn't discern what the fuck that was. Like, when I looked at that creature's body, I didn't know what it was meant to be. I was like, is this like I couldn't get my head around what the fuck it was meant to be. The overall design in this game
Yeah.
is far inferior. At least the first one had like this level of grit to it. Like everything, the Ishimura was broken down and busted and everything, and it felt like,
Yeah.
it felt like I was playing Event Horizon. But in this game, it feels like I'm playing Alien 4, and this plot and everything, characters and all. It's not the problem is as well. It's not an awful game. It's just a terribly mediocre one, and it's because of that identity crisis. The entire when you want to make something, when you want to make a game, you have to know what genre it's in. But this game flits between two genres at once, and therefore it never manages to nail either of them.
No.
It becomes an overall issue for the pacing. It
Yeah.
becomes an
Yeah.
overall issue for the design. Is the design going to be slick and sleek, or is it going to be gritty and dark? Like
And
it's
clunky.
and it flickers between the two. Is the gameplay? Is it going to be fast? Is it going to be visceral? Is it going to be hard hitting? Is it going to be action packed? Is it going to be cinematic esque? Or is it going to be slow, methodical, atmosphere based?
And
It's
see,
just it doesn't know what
the
it wants to
irony
be.
is they went for the first part. They went for the first part, but they kept the systems from the previous game that was going for the exact
Yeah.
opposite.
Like the dismemberment
So
is still
yeah.
good. They're still pretty fun. Overall they're still pretty good.
Yeah.
But I feel like I feel like in the first game, I can't remember for the life of me. Was freezing objects? Was that in the first game?
Yes,
Stasis?
I
stasis
think
was
it
in the
was,
first
wasn't it?
game.
Yeah, stasis. Yeah, it was. In combat encounters, I barely used it. I feel like
Yeah.
they basically made all the enemies in this game more aggressive and everything, so that you had to use stasis. It feels like they basically thought to themselves, "Oh shit, people can get through the game and barely ever use this mechanic unless it's like necessary to progress. I guess we might as well need to make something that completely, makes them rely upon. It becomes a crutch, because if you combine the Ripper and stasis, you're basically a fucking killing machine. Because I have an upgraded Ripper, and it just goes
I
through them.
always use the
Yep.
fucking I use the force gun all the time. Fucking like it takes advantage of the enemies that run at you and fucking blows them
I
up.
will say that is something I will say. Even though most of the things in this game don't work the way they're intended to, the variety of guns and the way they play and handle are really satisfying. They are really, really satisfying.
Yeah.
The fact that I can
Yeah.
say,
Well,
like
it's
them.
like the thing is, it's like we've said several times, it's like the gameplay itself, the moment to moment gameplay is solid. It's better than the previous game. It just doesn't work with the enemy design and then level design.
Yeah, it's the level design that kills
It's
it.
like
Yeah.
and yeah, and I mean there are
And
good
the enemy
ideas.
design,
Like
but
I kind of like the idea of the toddlers because it's like there's a bunch of them, but they're really weak. But at the same time, it's like they're so well. Yeah, no, it's like they're really fast. There's a lot of them, and so you have to deal with them. But at the same time, that incentivizes you to use the pulse rifle, which goes against the use engineering tools to fight
I
the
just, I
necromorphs
just,
thing.
I
But
just held the Ripper out at like arm's length for just letting them walk into it.
yeah, that too. But it's a decent
Yep, that's what I
idea
did.
because it's like it's lots of enemies, but they're really weak which means it's like tense because you're trying to pick them off before they get to you. And if one of them gets to you, then the rest of them can start getting to you, unless you have a weapon that can like
Here's the thing
easily
as
fend
well,
them
and
off.
this links both gameplay and story together. It interweaves the two. Isaac, and this might have been a little bit before its time, and I will say overall, I actually think the motion capture was actually fairly good in this
Oh
game.
yeah,
I think for its time, when did this game come out? I
2011.
think it is actually really like the actual motion capture. There's a bit where just after he off like I can't ever remember what is the chick's name? Ellie, is it?
Yeah.
Ellie? Yeah. When he puts her into the ship and makes the ship take off, there's a bit where he turns around, like he's sort of like he looks determined, and he turns around and his face just sort of sags. The actual they have the technology there to make him have little emotions on his face. But when you're going through areas, say like the school, and you're killing necromorph children,
Yeah.
it should be horrifying. And when I had to first kill the first set of kids, I was like, holy shit, this is horrifying because I'm basically committing murder against toddlers here. You know, I'm essentially killing children. Isaac, he may as well have been fucking humming along to Old MacDonald, because it was kind of like that dissonance between you and the character is present all the way through, besides the cutscenes where he actually emotes. But all the way through the game, he doesn't say almost anything about it. He doesn't react with like a holy shit or my fucking, like, he doesn't act shocked. And I understand that he's been through this in the first game, but there weren't any toddlers in the first game. You weren't shooting
Well, he did kill
kids.
babies.
Yes, yeah. But at the same time, he didn't emote in that one either. There wasn't a situation where he kind of sat back and went, holy fuck, I just killed a bunch of children. I mean, I understand that necromorphs are going to kill you, but that's still not a nice thing. It's still not something that Isaac, who we're presented as like a average Joe almost, who is just an engineer. He's not a fighter. He is a fucking fighter. He may as well be the Punisher because he's a fucking beast. But he is presented as a Joe Schmo, and yet when he's killing children, there's nothing. I understand it might have been a little bit before its time, but when you look at how well done the motion capture is, why couldn't they just added one or two lines in there of him reacting the same way that the player would probably react to certain situations, which baffles my mind.
Yeah, I found their presentation of like the hallucinations and stuff to be really like poorly implemented. I felt like if it had been a lot more subtle and like kind of fucked with you, like where I think early on in the game, I think they do it once, or they did it in a trailer and it didn't make it in the game, where it's like, you know, you see a necromorph, but it's actually a person, and they run off, and you're like, fuck, I almost just murdered someone. But they do nothing with that, and it's just every time Nicole shows up, it's like, spooky lights, weird voice distortion.
Might I say, actually, that I do like the idea of the distortion coming through the thing, but I would have preferred it if Isaac had been reacting to that and he didn't realise that, like, Ellie could hear what he was saying. It would have been like an interesting idea where you could play off the idea of this person doesn't trust you, even though that you know that you're trying to help her. That would have been like way more interesting than what we got. And I don't mind the idea of voice distortion coming in through the radio, and I do actually like the idea of him seeing visions of Nicole. But it worked better in the first one, where she would just vanish.
Yeah.
She'd go, she'd disappear. I understand he knows that she's dead now, but it would be even creepier seeing her just dotted about here, there, and everywhere. It amazes me that a game like PT, for example, does stuff like that. The reason why PT scared the shit out of me was because there are moments that you can miss. There are scares and horror elements that you can just miss on your first
that's
playthrough.
what makes it
You can
so
completely
good,
miss
yeah.
that the ghost is there. And that means that there's detail put in. But in this game, it's so in your face all the time. It doesn't feel like they stop and take in all the details of the game. It feels like everything is just there in your face all the time, and you can't sit back and have any details that you yourself can discover. It doesn't feel organic. It doesn't feel natural. It just feels like it feels like a game.
Yep.
It doesn't feel immersive enough. And that's a buzzword that gets thrown around a lot, but it doesn't feel like I'm immersed in the game, which is a problem because it meant to fucking scare me.
Yeah, and alright, so that's the gameplay. I think we should wander on to the next thing, which is level and art design.
Yeah, we kind of covered a lot of that.
This is why I'm in charge of the sections.
I just kind of want to talk about I mean, what I'm talking about when I say that is like environmental design and art, the art direction and stuff like that. Not of the enemies, of the environments and whatnot. Because I kind of want to talk about that just a bit. I want to say
Go on, then we'll let you talk because we know that how much you like to talk.
Says the person who ranted and raved for 15 minutes by himself before we had to interrupt him.
But can I just say, did you not appreciate that?
Oh no, I appreciate it. I'm just saying.
It's everything I wanted. And more.
Okay.
If you want, I can go back to being to being too nice about the game.
No. So what I just wanted to bring up some of the art and level design because again, much like everything else in the game, it starts off good and it goes downhill really, really fast. I do think some of the environmental and level design is actually enjoyable. For instance, I love the Church of Unitology, hands down.
Oh, yeah.
In terms of just its visual design, I think it's one of my favorite areas in a game. It's got this good atmosphere to it. It's got this quiet solitude to it when enemies aren't like rushing you. I really like the layout and design of it, and there's some good ideas with it. They just don't really do enough with it.
Yeah.
But it's a really cool environment. And then you just go to the back of it, and there's like a trash place, and you're like, oh, I guess that's the end of that. And it's kind of an interesting contrast, because it's like in Dead Space, you know, you had gray corridors the whole way through, because it's a utilitarian spaceship. It's an older spaceship. And then you get to the captain's quarters, and it's this elegant, like, carpeted, nice looking area, and it's this interesting contrast. And I mean, obviously this is a station people are fucking living on, so they'd want it to look a little bit nicer. So especially in the beginning, some of that is interesting. I also like the school. The school's bright and colorful, which is an interesting contrast with the babies and the toddlers that attack you and the stage play especially. And I like some of that. But then, as the game goes on, it starts, like, replacing that with gray, boring areas that really contrast poorly with the beginning of the game because they feel really lazily done. And eventually the environmental design just gets more and more dull, and they're not having fun with it anymore. And as I noted earlier, getting onto the Ishimura, it's like, wow, this ship still looks visually distinct and interesting. And it's so much better than everything they do leading up to that, except those two areas, in my opinion.
Yeah, it just, that entire section, just fuck me. Fuck this fucking game. It's actually, like, deflated me. It's made me feel physically, like, heavy. That section, when they're on the fucking... Oh, I've lost my train of thought. So, on the Ishimura, I do agree. I think it looks nice and distinct, and I think the sprawl is a little bit less distinct. I think it has its own flavour, but there are areas where I'm kind of like, it just sort of meshes together. It doesn't feel like, it just feels like I'm getting bits and pieces. Meanwhile, with the Ishimura, you feel like, as you're progressing through the ship, it also has that sweet little map that tells you where you are on the ship, on the Ishimura, like in the first game, so you got a sense of geography and where you were. But in the sprawl, because it is sprawling, it just means that you lose sense of where you are. You don't get as swept up into the environment as much in this game, which I guess is what the developers were going for. But, I have to ask those developers, what the fuck were you thinking? Because I spend so much fucking time there.
Yeah, it just wasn't great. And the level design just gets worse and worse until eventually it's like the same corridor over and over again. And it's just, there's so many terrible decisions. Like, there's an invincible monster that chases you at the end of the game, and it's so annoying. And that's, it's not scary, it's annoying. Like, in Dead Space 1, that monster is set up, it's introduced in an interesting way, in my opinion, and you learn more about it. It's a monster with a specific and terrifying history, and then eventually you get away from it, but it's still tracking you. You freeze it, and then eventually it manages to, like, unthaw and follow you again. It's like, oh my gosh. And you only manage to kill it near the end of the game. That's interesting. That's an interesting setup, payoff, and follow through. In this one, it just shows up.
It's almost like a story arc, inside of the story.
And it's associated with one of the most interesting characters in Dead Space, in my opinion. The crazy doctor I think he's a very interesting protagonist. He's really unnerving because you never know when he's going to show up and, like, lock the doors and let the monsters try and get you. And in this one, no, it just shows up. There's no build up. There's no setup. It just shows up to be an annoyance. That's it. And it respawns so quickly, its limbs so quickly, that it's a continual annoyance. There was a save station. I literally couldn't get to it because it managed, after I shot its limbs off and stasis it just got back up again really quickly, got through the door before I could get to the save station, and I'm like, you know what, fuck this. And I ran all the way to the ending.
Doesn't that thing like pop up near a save station at one point?
It can also crawl through a vent and like show up near the save station.
Because I was like, oh, finally, I can save now. And then he freaking showed up behind me.
Yeah, that does happen. This game just blends together so much.
It's hard to tell in my mind what's from the first one and the second one.
Yeah.
Honestly.
How do we feel about the sound design and music in this one?
Fucking, it has music.
It has sound.
Fine. I think again the combat sounds are satisfying.
It's
but
not.
Everything else, and voice and.
Yeah.
I do think that the actors do what they can with the stuff they're given. I don't blame the actors for their characters at all. And I do think, and I do actually genuinely think Ellie is actually fairly sympathetic, far more so than Isaac. I get her gist, and all she wants to do is get the fuck out of there. Whereas Isaac has this big, grand quest that he's got to go on. He's got to stop the marker. You have to stop the marker, Luke. You have to do this. And it's just like, I don't give a shit because I can't relate to that. I can relate to Ellie being completely fucking scared out of her mind and the last person standing, which, might I add, is the first thing you hear her shouting at the top of her lungs from the fucking storefront that she's in. The dialogue that she has the first time you meet her did not make me warm to her whatsoever, but I think she is fine as a character. You don't really get a gist of what she's about or anything, but you don't really need to. She's just there and wants to get the fuck off the station, which probably means that she's more relatable to most people than Isaac would be, because Isaac kind of fucking dicking around and doing his own thing, whereas Ellie is not. I don't know. It's hard because I don't think you're given enough with her for you to be able to fully relate to her, but you're given enough, whereas I'd rather be playing as her than Isaac, but I'd rather be playing as fucking anyone than Isaac, to be honest with you.
Do you think that it seems more like the characters aren't really people, but they're written to be characters in a story? Would that be fair to say? Because if I'm remembering correctly, that's how I felt.
That's what I'm talking about, though. When it comes to certain things like... It makes me realise how lucky we are to have people like CD Projekt Red and Naughty Dog who understand that little details in the characters and the characters' voices help so much in making you believe that they are in fact real. I feel like Dead Space really needs a theme, because when I think of certain tracks from certain games, the most memorable games have... So say, for instance, they can reveal certain games at certain game conventions just by having a song, like a soundtrack, or a particular note of music. But with Dead Space, how the fuck would they reveal a new Dead Space game? You know, it's just kind of there. It just exists. It's a thing, and it's not a bad thing, but there's nothing memorable about it, much like the rest of this fucking game.
Because it's the sound design is just there. I mean, there's nothing to say about it. It's not like it's bad. It's not like particularly impressive.
I'd say the game itself goes more into bad territory. Well, because I mean, the more I think about it, it's like I liked it a lot more the first time I played it, but when you look back at something and you basically say to yourself, well, that was very good, after you play it again, and the more you think about it, the more you're like, that's not exactly a good sign. I don't tend to use review scales, but if I was going to say anything, I'd say the first half is okay to good. It has lots of problems, and they start cropping up more and more, but there is some good level design early on. There's some good environmental design, like the Church of Unitology and the preschool are, interestingly, in the first half. There is good to be had, and if it was as consistent as that, I could probably say Dead Space was a okay to good game. Dead Space 2 overall. But it's not, because the second half is a slog. It's a long, boring slog. It is the worst part of Dead Space, which is that last part when you land on the planet is the worst part of Dead Space. It's like that, except stretched over 4 or 5 hours. And it's like, it brings all the problems to the forefront. It brings everything into relief, and you realize, man, this game has a lot of problems and I just don't care for it. I mean, I wouldn't score it. That's just my feelings on it.
Yeah, it's below average is what I would say. It's like a 4 out of 10 for me. Can I say that I'd give the first half of this game a 6 out of 10, and the last half of the game a 1 out of 10.
No, it's fine. I understand. It's like they can be useful. Limo, what would you say?
I don't think I'd be able to give it a 1 out of 10. I'm a little bit too... I'm very strict on myself when it comes to rating things. I'd rate games like Life of Black Tiger a 1 out of 10.
Oh,
I
for
don't
sure.
think the end half of Dead Space 2 is on the same
Life
scale.
of Black Tiger doesn't even get a point. It gets 0 out of 10.
No, it does.
No,
It's
that's
functional. You know, Live a Black Tiger is functional. I've played games that won't even start, so I'm not going to. That's a 0 out of
there you
10.
go.
You know, but Live a Black Tiger is like a point 0.5. I'm fucking done. This game started out with such
the
promise, and I wanted it to be good because I want every game to be good because I spent money
Hmm.
on it. It's got a 90. It's got a fucking 90 on Metacritic. Not to say, of course, that I
Come
buy into
on.
Metacritic, but that is insane.
yeah, well, review aggregators are full of shit. I will say though that graphically it is actually generally good looking.
Yeah, I would say graphically it holds up fairly well, to be fair.
Yeah, it definitely it still looks good. Like all the faces and everything generally
Hmm.
still look good.
Yeah.
Graphically, there's not really any problems. I mean, even Dead Space. Well, Dead Space hasn't aged nearly as well, obviously, but Dead Space like still was a pretty big graphics powerhouse of its time. With this one, where I guess it falls, we haven't had too much horror like Dead Space. You know, that kind of third person, well, even set in space sort of horror
Can I
stuff.
say, okay, as a man who does not watch horror movies because I scare too easy and I would have nightmares for months, Dead Space 2 is less scary than the Powerpuff Girls TV show. Correct me if I'm wrong, but at the time, this was during the time when horror was dead, right? According to the industry.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, they had been saying that for
And
years.
so I'm wondering if like a lot of like the review hype against, because this was like when Resident Evil 5 came out, and so I wonder if a lot of like the positivity in the reviews have been involved because this is really like the first taste of horror that the industry had like successfully in forever. Because I wonder, because this would also predate probably Amnesia and stuff too, or no? I don't really know when those came out.
Amnesia was 2010.
Was it?
Yeah.
That is an interesting point, actually. Still, that was kind of a different horror thing in its own thing. This is a
Right.
AAA game, and I could see the argument being made. And I mean, that was a year before
Hmm.
Dead Space 2 came out. I could see the argument being made like maybe horror's back on the upswing, baby, but Dead Space 2 is
Yeah,
not much of a horror game.
dude.
Well, I mean, I think the
Absolutely.
reason Dead Space kind of sticks around in people's minds so much is because there's some really interesting visual design going on. Even in the second one, there's some interesting visual ideas, and the body horror can be interesting.
Well, as much as we poo-pooed on the second game, I mean, there's still some stuff to like, and if you're not annoyed by I think the specific things that we found annoying, then I can see why people really liked it. But I don't know. For me, it was just like,
No.
But do you think it's art though?
oh, look at that transition.
I know it was fucking professional level. That's what that was. I'm
Wow,
pulling out the professionalism here.
Okay,
absolute.
so I think we're going to do
Yeah.
this in an order of me, Dino, and then you, because I have a feeling you're going to have a lot to say. Um, and I don't want to interrupt your breathless rant, which I'm really excited for. I'm not kidding. I'm excited to hear it, but for myself, no. The thing is, with Dead Space 1, there was such a unity of vision, and I thought it was well executed. The walls are covered in this sprawling words. It gets more and more creepy and
Hmm.
demented. It presents itself very well. It's atmospheric. It's very well executed. And I can say it's an artistic piece, even if there's some ambiguity to what's going on as well. Even if there's not a deeper meaning necessarily, it's a well crafted piece of art, in my opinion. It's a well crafted sculpture of a buttocks. And if that's not your thing, it's not your thing. This one, it feels so compromised. It's like the art design doesn't feel nearly as strong. The atmosphere doesn't feel as strong. It's just not nearly as well crafted. It has levels that are, I think, in their own right, could be considered, well, a level that could be considered artistic in its own right, but the entire game is just feels so poorly crafted and poorly put together. The deeper theme is pathetically executed, in my opinion. It just doesn't come across well. And they just don't do enough with the subject. They don't craft anything well enough. And it just doesn't have the same feeling as Dead Space. It doesn't feel like this cohesive, well done, well put together piece of art. I really don't think it's art. It just feels too poorly executed and too commercial and compromised, probably also partially because of EA being EA.
Dino?
Okay, so I think that that this game's sort of inner struggle to find its identity really is reflective of Isaac's inner struggle to find his identity, and for that reason, I have to clearly state that this is very much art. And no, but seriously, honestly, I think that this is almost the opposite of art. It is, because it's like I can almost see that the designers of this game had a vision, right, for this game, and then EA, the big corporation, comes by and they're like, nah. And so you end up with this horrible cacophony of what seems to be tainted by this corporate greed. And so it's gonna be no for me, dog.
I think before you go, Limo, I just want to say I think the reason I don't necessarily consider it the opposite of art is because I've played Dead Space 3, and I know you haven't. That game. Imagine all the good about Dead Space 2.
Okay.
Now toss it out the window. That's Dead Space 3.
Fair enough.
I think I'd have to say that despite my grievances, I'd have to label it as art. Mostly just due to all the things I listed in the beginning. It's just so well. Fuck this shit. I know. I can't do a you. I can't. You guys have lost your integrity already by labeling the first game as art.
I have to admit, for a second there, I was buying it. For a second there, I was like, "Oh my gosh, is he actually gonna say it's art?"
I was gonna do it. I was thinking to myself, maybe I should say it just to fuck with them because they did it to me the first time. Remember the first fucking game?
No,
But-
I knew he was having a go from the beginning. See, I wanted Limo to go first to make that joke, and so that I could make the joke, and then it would end up being art. And then in the end, Limo would have killed himself.
I would have quit. I just think I would have been like, you know what, 4 episodes, that's a good run. I think we're done. This game is just, it doesn't feel like it has a single mind behind it, driving it creatively. It just feels like it's slapped together to appeal to it does feel like, because of course EA wanted the game to be a worldwide commercial market like success, it does feel like they compromised their vision for the sake of worldwide marketable success. And that's a shame, because it could have been something great, but as it stands, it's just a mediocre game with some bright spots here or there that is well put together, but it has some deep ideas, but it's not deep enough to execute them properly. The intent is there, the execution is lacking, and unfortunately the game made me want to feel like I needed to execute myself, because it just wasn't
Didn't you
compelling.
say that didn't one of you tell me at some point that it switched writers at some point?
No, not a clue.
Okay, never mind. Hush my mouth.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think you're probably thinking of something else.
No
GM.
idea.
But no,
Alright.
I can't label this as art. Not with my integrity on the line. I need a baseline level of quality for myself. You guys have already sold your souls because you've already labeled the first game as art. I can't do that.
You need let it go. Let it go. All right. Well, with that, Dead Space 2, no art.
can I-
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to say real quick that just for clarification, that I don't think that obviously giving into a corporation on some point or compromising with them makes your game not art automatically. Obviously, I just want to clarify that you can. I mean, sometimes you got to do what you got to do. But I think that you can definitely.
I think that's definitely true. It's like, there's plenty of movies you could define as art that have product placement.
Yeah, little Pepsi can.
It's corporate influence doesn't necessarily make something not art.
Yeah,
it's just that too much of it can turn something into
Exactly.
product as opposed to art.
Exactly. But
Thank fuck that's over.
Yeah, this has been a long time coming, folks. This has been brewing for a while.
3, 4 months. Jeez, how long has it?
It's really only
End
been
of
a couple
November?
of weeks.
What?
Yeah.
Since we recorded Dead Space 1?
Oh wait, actually, when did we record Dead Space 1?
November.
It was like the end of November, wasn't it?
No, was it?
I think so.
See, this is what happens when you let Limo be a part of things.
I'm so sorry that I have a life. Jesus. It just means now, so I've got Dead Space, literally, like, Dead Space 2 waiting for me to finish the last chapter. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it to myself. I'm not going to spite myself.
No,
Don't do it.
you're
Don't do it.
you're honestly good. It doesn't get better. It gets worse.
I wouldn't wish it upon my worst enemy.
Oh my god. Okay, yeah. This would have been in mid-December, is when we recorded that episode.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Yeah, wow.
In which case, then, we need to make this a little bit more
Well-
common, I suppose. So we're going to need to discuss afterwards what the next game's going to be, but I did enjoy that. It's nice to have a nice negative rant, because the first three have been fairly positive, even though I didn't really like Dead Space 1 that much.
Well, the thing with Dead Space is, even if you have problems with it, at least it's got what good construction in it. This one has
It
some,
feels
but
original.
it's
This one feels
yeah.
like Resident Evil 4 had a baby that was just like an amalgamation, like a baby of incest, and it's just like just an amalgamation of shit. It's been thrown at it, and it feels like
it's like the afterbirth and shit mixed together.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much.
All right. Well, do you want to discuss this in the podcast, or you want to cut this out and we'll talk about it after?
Talk about what?
Our next game.
No. We'll do it after. We'll do it
Well,
after. We won't do it in the podcast. We won't bore the listeners any further, because I'm pretty sure that having to listen to over an
gonna
hour
be
of
a
us is enough, I
surprise.
think.
All right. Well, thank you, folks. Thanks for listening, as always. We really appreciate it. Like I said, I'm hopeful that the improvements to my quality and all that stuff at least on my end, and Dino has been introduced by last episode. I hope that's improved it for you, and yeah, hopefully you enjoyed this cathartic gut shredding.
We're gonna get so much hate mail
Oh,
for this.
absolutely.
You know that, right?
Yeah, well, I looked at I want to talk about this. There's a recent article about how you could get Dead Space 2 for free on Origin, I think it was. And there were a lot of people who were talking positively about Dead Space 2. So
Yeah, but how many of them have played it recently?
recently? Probably not many of them. Regardless, as everyone wants to say goodbye and tell people where they can find you.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, sure. Later, fuckers.
Limo's just peacing out.
All right.
Fucking making me play this fucking game. Holy shit.
Yeah.
I'm just so fucking done with this fucking game. It hurts my head
All
to
right,
think
you can-
about it. The fact that we're still recording makes me even more pent up, because I'm like, holy fuck, we're still on Dead Space 2
All right.
episode.
Say goodbye.
Dead Space
Say
2
goodbye to
episode.
the
Bye to the
listeners.
listeners.
Bye. Thank you. Yeah, goodbye to the listeners.
All right.
Fucking Christ, this